In the readings for today's Mass, Jesus says this. He says, I tell you this beforehand, before it happens, so that when it happens, you can believe that I am. Yahweh is the very name of God. It means I am who am. I am whom for you. So when Jesus tells us about a prophecy, the reason is so that you can believe, that we have faith. It's very interesting. If I told you that, and everybody's asking me, is this the end of the world? And if I told you that in 3 days you would die, the first thing you do is you'd call your stockbroker and say, sell my actions. I want to get all my stock sold. I want the money. Then you'd call your lawyer and say, I want to change my will. And then you might call your mother and say, Ma, bye, I'm going. But if I told you in 3 days the world would end, everything would change because there would be no money. There'd be no mother. There'd be no one to say goodbye to. Everything would change. So the first thing you do is you'd get out of this house and you'd run to the bishop, and everybody would be on the streets screaming for the bishop to open the churches. Where are the priests? We want to go to confession. We want to go to mass. This is the end of the world. What are we doing sitting at home? The thing is the reaction of those who believe. I remember a man was sent from Jerusalem to Nineveh, which is in Persia, thereabouts, and he believed that God is God, that God is merciful and kind. So he got on a boat to go to Spain from Jerusalem because he knew if he preached to the people of Nineveh, they would change. His name was Jonah. And by God, they did change. When they got news that the end of the world was coming for them in 3 days, they got out their sackcloth and ashes, and even the animals were clothed in sackcloth and ashes, and they repented of all their sins, and God relented. Do you take God seriously? In these days of the Bible reading, we just read, I think it was a couple of days ago, I forget when, that in Antioch was the first time that the people called us Christians, like unto Christ. Not us calling ourselves Christians. We have to put a sign in front of our churches that we're Catholic or we're Christian. But the people don't tell us. They call us anything but Christian. They have a lot of names for us, but it's not Christian. We don't really believe that the end of the world is here, because I don't see anybody screaming at the bishop and telling him open the churches, or screaming at the. There wouldn't be no need to go to the politicians. We would take the law into our own hands. We would go and open the churches and force the priest to hear confessions and force the priest to say mass, if we really believed that this came from God and this is the end of the world. We don't believe that for 1 minute. We're just waiting around till we can get back to our old ways, doing the same thing we always did, seeking to serve this world, and then giving the leftovers to God. Don't worry, no one will take you for a Christian. Nothing will change. You'll be able to do what you always did. Sad to say. I tell you this beforehand, so that you may believe that I am. God sent his mother, Fatima. God sends prophets, priests, saints. We don't believe them. We don't listen to them. We'd rather pay the fortune teller. And we can have our curiosity piqued. We can cry and we can lament. But we can't change, because we don't really believe the one who's telling us is I am.